Welcome back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. It was WarGames yesterday, this morning, I suppose yesterday, because it was in a decent time. But speaking of, we were talking about OGs, OTCs, and everything else. We were just talking before we come on air. We've got the original OG himself joining me, my tag team partner, Mr. Andy Burrows. Welcome back.
Pleasure, mate. Always. I was praying you had your new Hitting the Turnbuckle jersey on, so we could have done OTC and new Hitting the Turnbuckle. But
Yes.
no, great, mate. Really pleased when you asked me to. I've got a little bit more time coming up now, so hopefully I can do a few more of these, mate. But yeah, literally just got done watching War Games. I had my football like Christmassy thing last night, so I couldn't watch it live, even though I tried to, but I was falling asleep when I got in. Yeah, just finished. I've just finished War Games, my friend.
Excellent. We'll get into sort of the matches in a minute. Overall, I mean, recently, obviously, it's been a while since we've caught up. What have you made of it? Do you think WWE right now is going through a transitional stage when they're kind of like perhaps saving a lot of surprises and stuff for January when they hit the Netflix button?
Yeah, I think me and you said this a couple of years ago when we originally joined forces and like started doing podcasting and hitting the turnbuckle. We kind of always said it's like a slow. There's like slow builds, and this around this time of year, me and you mentioned it countless times a couple of years back when we're like, now you're kind. They'll know the main event for WrestleMania right
Yeah.
now. They'll pretty much it might change again, like it went, like last year it did. It had to change, but I think Triple H will pretty much know, and obviously Dwayne the Rock Johnson will be heavily involved in that as well because he's, where he is in a position of authority now. So yeah, I think we're gonna. War Games was more about teasing certain things, which I'm sure
Yeah.
we'll get into. I enjoyed the show, but yeah, we're at that stage of the year now where that pretty much closed off this year, and we're now heading to the build up to, there'll be a couple of shows in December. I think there's Saturday night's main
Yeah.
event, hence why we didn't see Cody and KO and all that. They had to save something. But yeah, I think we're heading for the Netflix 6th of January. I think we're heading towards that. And then obviously we're heading into the Rumble. So now I agree with you, mate. We're very much in that setup period now, but it's still enjoyable. But I think now more of ever as a wrestling fan, you've got to kind of be patient because we kind of know things are coming.
Yeah.
But and a lot of people will probably I've just quickly scrolled on my phone before we hit record, and a lot of people are oh disappointed I didn't see The Rock or disappointed Heyman didn't turn. I'm like, they're not going to give you everything all at once. There was a few little Easter eggs in there
Yeah.
where you were like, I've got it now. So yeah, no, it's always like this time of year, mate.
Exactly. It's that curve, isn't it, that you always say, right?
Yeah, mate, it's 100%. We're heading into Rumble season. It always happens.
The most exciting season, and obviously the
Mm.
Netflix on top of that, which is going to be an
Oh,
interesting
huge.
3 hour thing. It's going back to 3 hours. It's no longer PG from what the Netflix
Mm.
rating is. Does that give WWE a bit more leeway, or do you think they just haven't really? Because we saw blood for the first time in a while, and they say when it is it a case of like not doing like a John Moxley and coming out the shower and stabbing yourself with a
I don't
fork?
know.
Is it a case of when it's there and when it's needed to, we'll push that boundary, but we're going to save it for the most important things?
Yeah, mate. I think you hit the nail on the head, mate. I think they're going to save it for. You'll get. I think the 6th of January is going to be more. They're going to know there's going to be more eyes on the product, and maybe not more eyes because I think WWE is as popular as it's ever been. But I, for one, what I mean, I got rid of my TNT Sport a while back, so I've had to watch Raw by other means, shall we say. But I think a lot more people. A few of my friends at work have already said, "Oh, I'm going to get back into WWE because I've got Netflix." It's not where you have to pay an extra 20 quid on top of your subscription. You haven't got to get a WWE network. That's free this month in December. So anyone that does want it, get it now because it's free right now. So I think, yeah, I think the Netflix and the whole rating thing, they could save it for maybe pay-per-views, old school as me and you call it pay-per-views. Then is Raw going to be more attitude era kind of style? And I'm not talking about like in-ring. I'm talking about the presentation. I'm talking about maybe backstage segments. Maybe they could push the boundaries a little bit more. I think you can get away with a little bit more on Netflix because it's Netflix, and they have all sorts of programming on Netflix. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where they go with the whole Netflix thing. Obviously, I know that they're trying to push. They want Roman, they want Cena, and obviously the networks over in the States are saying, "Well, we want Roman on SmackDown," and it's going to be the whole net because it's not everywhere that's got it on.
No,
Like it's obviously SmackDown in the States is still on Fox. So
the
Fox are
USA.
saying on USA, sorry. So
Yeah.
USA are saying to Netflix, well, you can't have everyone every week because we want our ratings. And where we are now with wrestling, it's very much. We recently spoke to Eric Bischoff, and ratings come up, and it's very much ratings are they're at the forefront again now, and it's not ratings has me and you know it, as in between wrestling companies. It's ratings for Fox, it's ratings for Netflix. So it's going to be. I for one, am glad that the rating has gone, where it's gone for Monday Night Raw, because I'm hoping that we see a little bit more edgy kind of wrestling when it starts on Netflix.
We'll see. Not long to find out. As you said, I think this may have been the last pay-per-view unless NXT have got one.
Yeah, we got Saturday. I was going to ask you, have we got Saturday night main event here? Because I know they advertised it at Water. It's on Peacock. Is it on the network
It'll be on the
for us?
network, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we got it on the
Yeah,
network.
I think it'll be the last special show that we get on the
Mm.
Netflix, not on Netflix, on the network before it goes.
Hmm.
And just by the way, just to anyone else, if you've got that extra tenner now that you've got WWE Networks like, so go and get the TNA Plus app. Bit of a cheap plug. Go and get TNA Plus.
He's always working, this boy. He's always working.
Go and get that. Let's start. But look, Women's War Games started it. I did feel this one. It was actually quite good, but I felt as if it started off really slow. It didn't really pick up really until Liv sort of got in there. One of the things that I kind of thought was like, I kept feeling it was more about how many weapons they could get into the ring before the war.
When they found him.
Yeah, when they found. I mean, Nia Jax was probably the weakest chair shots I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, dude, she's
During
going backwards, in my opinion.
the other thing I was going to say is, once again tease the cash in, which I think is going to happen on the Netflix debut. I'm pretty certain now. It didn't happen last night. I thought it made sense for it to happen last night. Both women's champions are in the cage at the same time. Tiffany had an opportunity. I know Raquel was kind of preventing her from doing it on Liv. Is too many of those, because we've seen it a lot with Tiffany, is too many now getting to a point where you're just like, just fucking cash it in.
Yeah, mate. Again, you've hit the nail on the head, mate. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm like, just either cash it. I'm with you. I think they're going to throw. I think they're going to throw everything at this Netflix
Yeah.
launch, because, like I just said, there's going to be more eyes on the product than there ever is. Yeah, for me, the women's match. I was making some on my notebook on my phone as we were going along, knowing that we were recording this. I just put sloppy start to the match, and in brackets I put heard Bailey call 5 spots.
Yeah.
When you're hearing it go elbow slingshot, and you're like flipping it, because I know the cameraman's in the
Yeah.
he's in there,
Well, he's in there, yeah.
yeah, he's in there with him. So for me, I'm with you. It was sloppy. It was a very sloppy start, very slow, very ploddy. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad they weren't doing the gymnastics that other lot down the road do, but it's for me, it was very very sloppy. Very sloppy start to what is a humongous event for WWE. And I'm with you again. It didn't get going until Liv coming into the ring. It ended really well. I liked the ending, but like a lot of the things at this event that I'm sure we'll get into, there was nothing that really got me going. Oh my! Me and you have done God knows how many of these, and we've gone. Oh my God, that was there was a few spots, but every spot that was at this show, including the women's match, was predictable. You knew now where the platform's at the top of the cage. People are coming off that.
Yeah.
There's a trash can over people jumping off the top. That kind of what's going to happen. So for me, it was a good start. I enjoyed. Predictable, probably. Did it set anything up? Not really, because I think we're going to go down Rhea Ripley and Liv. Maybe again for the. I think again it's going to come back to the Netflix special. Netflix special is going to kind of be like a mini WrestleMania, if you like.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be, they're going to want to set things up, because we're still in that little curve that me and you always talk about. But they're going to want to make a big, big statement. The Rock is 100% going to be on it. It's probably why we didn't see him. That's why he done that countdown when he was at SummerSlam, 4 months till January. He's going to be on the Netflix. Why do you think it's in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Why do you think it's there? It's Hollywood. They're all there. He's there already. It's going to be set up for him to be. And again, what's that setting up? Because he's potentially already scheduled not to be at WrestleMania, I'm hearing. You might know a few more things, but yeah. As for the women's match, mate, it was okay. It was good. The spots were good spots. It did nothing got me off my seat, and I'm going, oh my God, Adam, you just watch that kind of thing how we used to when we were texting, when we were watching it together live. But yeah, it was all right, mate. Nothing that really stood out for me though.
Do you think, and I don't want to bring AEW into this too much on that, but do you think where, because I was talking to, who did I have on? I had some Gideon Gray, who's done a lot of New Japan stuff on recently. And I said, one of my big bugbears at the minute is the constant kind of no selling of moves. It doesn't happen a lot on WWE. And last week, 3 weeks ago, Kevin Owens power drove Randy Orton and he's dead, like literally out. He's out the door. We ain't going to see him for a while, kind of thing. Do you think it now with AEW where they went through a sequence? I think there was like a four-way where they hit Poison Rama and he just rolled up. I think it was Ospreay actually. He rolled up, hit a Poison Rama. the person he hit it on rolled up and they hit another poison rama. And then I think Cole Fletcher then tombstones him off the apron onto a stairs and he just kind of gets up and the match carries on. Does that kind of bode into the fact that when you see some of these moves now on WWE or anywhere, and you just look at it and go, yeah, that's great, but last week I just saw someone like pretty much just nip straight back up from those moves, and it
Yeah.
kind of nullifies it.
Yeah, I think the finisher, what we know as a finisher, them days are kind of gone because you've got to hit about three or four of them to in a match now, and I get it, it's the whole storytelling, and Damon Priest hit his finisher, but because his shoulder was hurt, he couldn't because his shoulder was hurt, he couldn't get the pin.
Yeah,
Well, name me one match where Razor Ramon really used to hook the leg, and when he after he hit he never. So yeah, I just think we're in a different era of wrestling right now. Obviously, I don't watch that garbage company that you just mentioned. So this trampoline in wrestling, I call it now. But yeah, I mean, everyone I speak to, you mentioned the John Moxley stuff at the start of the show. I've got a couple of mates who always talk to me about it at work. My mate Jonathan, who'll be watching this, he talks to me about AEW all the time, and he's kind of the same opinion now. It's like, bloody hell, they do all this, and someone just stands straight back up. Bit like, do you remember the WrestleMania when Warrior come back and Triple H hit his finish, Warrior just stood up,
popped up.
and,
Yeah,
I've later seen the Paul Levesque interview about that, and he just detested doing everything about it. I see. Do you think is it an era of wrestling we're in now though? Is it something
yeah,
like
it
that?
is.
Because we saw loads of it in the women's match last night.
Yeah.
There was finishers, there was, but I think it's. Is that what I'm going to sound really old? Is that what the modern wrestling fan
I
wants? I
think
don't know. You
so. I
might be able
think
to tell
going to
me.
like going to the British because I did also say my big bugbear on the British independent scene that every match is currently the same. Like there is
Hmm.
no differentiation between you don't get like a 6 to 8 minute squash. And I get it, if you book a talent, they're gonna want to get their shit in, etc. etc. But like I just find it me and Rachel went to Progress not too long ago, and the match they done at the end was like Luke Jacobs squashing Kid Lycos for the title, which was great. But I
Hmm.
had seen nine other matches and was standing for 4 hours before watching the same kind of match over and over again. And for me, I just if someone said to me at the break, "Do you want to go home?" I would have just gone.
Really?
Yeah, it's not
Do you
because it
think
wasn't
that's because
enjoyable.
that's just for the in-house audience though, and they're like, well, all right, it's on. You can watch Progress online. I get
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
but do you think they're probably thinking, well, like you just said, wrestlers want to get their little bit in. They're going to get their money. They probably wrestled around the country all week doing that kind of match. You know what I mean? And you
yeah.
watch a lot more UK independent stuff than I do, and like you're probably thinking, well, I've seen this in Bournemouth, I've seen this in London, I've seen this wherever you're like, I've kind of seen this match, but isn't that maybe because it's just all in-house and they feel comfortable doing it. Yeah, it's hard to put your
Mm.
finger on it.
But I don't know. It's maybe it's just something we're old, mate. We just like it
I think, I think,
old
I
school.
think, I think
I
we
think
are
that's what
old,
it
mate.
is. But
I didn't
that's
like
just
there was. I don't like the fact there's no traditional Survivor Series match anymore.
yeah, they were the best. Five randoms each on
You
each
know
split.
you're old then because yeah, I don't get me wrong. I like the whole Survivor Series War Games.
Yeah,
It's good, but when WCW done War Games, it was War Games, and Survivor Series was Survivor Series. Do you think I don't think we'll ever see. I know WWE done it a couple of years ago, 2, 3 years ago. There was a tradition Raw versus SmackDown, wasn't it?
yeah. I
Them,
don't
them
know.
old. I don't think we'll ever see a traditional. There's people watching wrestling now that
Mm.
don't know what Survivor Series really is.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly,
it's
exactly that.
yeah. I mean, we didn't see Cody Rhodes. I mean, you don't.
Oh,
How? If I'd said to you 20 years ago, ads, we're going to watch Survivor Series, mate, but the main champion isn't going to be on the show. You'd have been like, all right, bro, so if you've been
yeah,
drinking, you
yeah.
know,
Exactly. No, exactly that. I agree. I agree. I think it's just a time that we're in, and we just have to get used to it. I think that's
we're just grumpy old men.
we're just grumpy old men. We've done two Muppets that watched it from the balcony. Do you remember those two?
That's me and you, mate.
Yeah, it's us. Moving on, we're actually a championship match that was on the card. Nakamura, LA Knight. LA Knight's time done. Nakamura wins. I thought it was a bit, him debuting a couple of weeks ago and then sort of going for LA Knight straight away. You kind of knew, that the title change was going to happen. But did WWE leave it too late? And then when they did bring LA Knight as champion, I just kind of thought I got to a point and I was talking to like Ringside Renaissance and I was like, I forgot LA Knight was the champion, like because they just done nothing and they didn't capitalize when they should have capitalized. Not necessarily with Roman, don't get me wrong, he was never going to beat Roman, but when it was hot, they failed to, we kept saying they've not done it, they've not pulled the trigger. Then they left it, I think, too late. And now for me, it's done for him.
Yeah, you made a great point when I think I was chatting to you on the SummerSlam show that we done. You were like, I think they're so invested in the bloodline storyline and now where that's gone. Obviously, we're going to talk about that later.
Mm.
Everything else, it's not that they've dropped the ball. it's kind of like they're, I don't want to say putting as much effort in because that's probably the wrong term. They probably are putting effort in, but they're so focused knowing that the end of every show right now is setting up another notch on the Bloodline
Yeah.
storyline that's been going on, if you think about it, since 2020, since the Thunderdome era and stuff like that when it all started. That's where the seed was planted. So they're solely focused on doing that, where, I think me and you mentioned halfway through last year, we're like, right, they need to capitalize on LA Knight because they were talking about him. Oh, he's in the same kind of pops as Stone Cold Steve Austin. You're thinking, is he really? Are we going there? And they potentially did drop the ball, unless they've got some mega plan now that he's going to go after a Cody Rhodes or a Gunther or something's going to happen. I know that it's separate brands, but it's WWE.
Yeah.
Unless they're gonna, yeah, completely flip it 180, and they're gonna go right. We're pushing you into the title scene now, or he's gonna have his mandatory rematch against Nakamura on a SmackDown or on a Saturday night main event. They're going to need some more, they're going to need
Yeah.
some more matches for Saturday night main event. We've only got one scheduled right now, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
Or obviously the women's intercontinent, the
The
women's
tournament.
United
Oh, we'll talk about that in a
tournament.
minute,
Yeah,
actually.
we've got the women's United States Championship. We're going to be decided at Saturday night main event. But yeah, I think they dropped the ball because he was there. He wasn't. I'm not talking what me and you just
Mm.
as Austin pops. So I didn't agree with any of that. But he was there. He was there or thereabouts. And there's going to come a time where they're going to need to look behind them and go, right, this bloodline storyline has gone as it happens. The NWO storyline fizzled out. The DX stuff fizzled out. Everything fizzles out in the end for business, not because you want
Yeah.
to end it, but for business. So with the LA Knight stuff, I'm with you, mate. I think they kind of dropped the ball, and it's going to be interesting to see is Nakamura. Are you now thinking, oh, can't wait to see Nakamura have a feud with X, Y, or Z?
Not really. I think they've wasted Nakamura as well. I think that's the
Mm.
other point. They brought someone back that they've already wasted to try and get something out of it. I don't think they're going to get anything out of it personally, but that's just what I think. But you did mention a good point. Women's United States and Intercontinental Champions. For me, I was plugging this for ages. I wanted this. I feel as if the women need it. I know who come out. Paul Heyman come out and said that he doesn't think he thinks it's too many belts, and maybe he's got a point. But I thought the women are at a point now where they need those additional belts because we all remember when you were growing up, the Intercontinental Championship was the prologue to the WWE. The United States Championship at WCW was the prologue to the World Heavyweight Championship. Did WWE got it right in this sense and bringing in those titles for the women?
I 100% with you. I think they're going to go down the road in 2025 of the women having their own show.
No.
I think that's an advantage of Netflix that they can maybe have an hour long, call it whatever you want, not their version of Raw or SmackDown, but I think because um, you mentioned too many titles there, like Heyman was mentioning, you potentially do, but when you kind of step outside the box and think, well, they've got Netflix now.
Yeah.
What's to say that the women don't have right? A women did do a pay per view again like they did a couple of years back, and you could have all the titles. You could have the women's tag titles, the
Yeah.
United States title, the world title, now the Intercontinental. There's 4 titles defended.
Yeah.
Plus, you can throw in another match there. So there's 5 matches you could potentially look Booker T now, but you could have 5 matches. Is that something you think that they might do? Is that where they're going? Because, like you say, you've got 3 hours of Raw, you've got 2 hours of
Soon to be 3 hours of
SmackDown.
SmackDown.
Soon to be, mate. Honestly, in a way, I'm glad it is on Netflix. You can
Yeah.
just hit the download button the next day, and you ain't got to worry. That's the plus
NXT on top of that.
NXT. That's what I'm saying. So when I originally said to you, oh, I'm stepping away from podcasts a little bit, I had other stuff going on, but how do people have all the time to watch all this wrestling? And I mean watch it
Yeah.
as in sit there and go, right, you haven't got 3 hours. I haven't got 3 hours a day. That's the joy of why WWE have gone now, right? Here's Netflix. People can, during the week, how many times you might be on a train, you're like, oh, I'll download this on Netflix. Now you could be like, I'll download Raw. I'll download SmackDown, I'll watch an hour on the way to work. I'll watch an hour on the way to the back to work. It's a genius move by WWE. So I think with the women, that's potentially where they could go. They've got a bigger scope to having their own show. And your mate, like you said, they've got to fill 3 hours and
Yeah.
they've got to keep the fans engaged and they've got to have backups to what's going on in the main event. That's what I call it, the bloodline. So yeah, I think it's a good thing, mate. I think it's where wrestling, I think it's where society is now, the whole, and why shouldn't it be? Men and women should be equal in everything they do. I've got a daughter growing up who's obsessed with women's football.
Mm. Yeah.
So why shouldn't wrestling be the same. And there'll be these woke people out there. Oh, they're only doing it because women want women's rights. And shut up. I think it's good. You've got to fill 3 hours of TV.
Exactly that.
Have more titles. Have more tournaments. I think it'll be great, mate. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think it will be good. I can't wait for it myself. Been waiting for it for ages
Yeah.
to be announced on the reviews of it. Kept saying that we needed it, and then they done the Saudi Arabia title thing, and I was just fucking keep that over there. But yeah, I can't wait for it. I'm looking forward to that. Moving on, we just talk about the women's Intercontinental Championship now as a men's. And I tell you what, War Games
Oh.
matches aside,
Woo.
this was great. Kaiser, Breakker, Sheamus, they all had their working boots on. Looks
Hmm.
like I felt as if they would have like a point to prove because they knew what was coming up later, and um, it was kind of like Breaker's got this sort of heavyweight power with cruiserweight like speed and agility.
Hmm.
On top of that, I mean, he tossed Kaiser and Sheamus around like there was nothing, but at the same time, he's got the speed of like a former when Rey Mysterio was younger. And I think as if like every near fall on this, you felt like shit, this could be it because I don't know, it just the match just had it that way. And I think Breakker pinning Sheamus is just simply because Sheamus is a former world champion and we know where they're going with Breakker. I think in the next 3 years, Breakker will be main eventing a WrestleMania in the next 3 years.
Yeah, he'll be where Gunter is now, I
Yeah,
reckon.
exactly that. But I love this match. I thought this match was brilliant, and I just think these three I could watch all day in there.
Oh, match of the night for me, mate. As entertaining as the main event was, but which we'll get to. Match of the night. Bron, it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do with him. Kaiser, yeah, I thought they put on probably the best match on the pay-per-view for me. I thought it was incredible. Going to be really interesting. Again, you could see what they were kind of setting up down the road. Obviously with the Rumble coming up, and do they throw Breakker in to the mix and give him like they did with LA Knight when
Maybe.
well, we knew we weren't going to beat Rome, but do they just say to him, look, go and have a banger of a match with Gunter? You won't get pinned. They could do it with a DQ.
Yeah.
They could but put him in. Imagine them two in the ring together at the Rumble. Just
Yeah.
it'll be they could title versus title kind of thing. We've seen it many times before. Now it started off all them years ago with Hogan and Warrior at WrestleMania. Could be done, but yeah, you've got a. He's one that you don't want to fast track him into the main event, but his matches are incredible from when he was in NXT. I mean, when he first come in, we're like, he's starting his son. Is he good? But wow, I'm with you, mate. He can move. He's got Rey Mysterio's quickness. Sean Waltman when he debuted as the 1-2-3 kid, he's kind of got that speed, but he's built, mate. Honestly, he's incredible to watch. And I thought that was the match tonight. They hit all the spots that they hit
Yeah.
were incredible. They didn't make Sheamus look stupid and like the veteran, and he's kind of not. They didn't make him look like he was on his way out. Oh mate, yeah, what a match! For me, yeah, 9 out of 10. Probably my favorite match of the whole card.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. Considering obviously it wasn't like a war game, it was just a wrestling, like a
Yeah, where do you think they go with Breaker though? Like in the next month or so, with obviously we've got the whole Netflix and the Rumble. Does he win a Rumble? Does he? What does he?
I like to think they're going to hold it off a little bit because
Mm,
I think sometimes in wrestling and it happens something that they push someone too quick, and then there's the momentum killer when I mean he's already lost in the Continental Championship once. He's already lost the NXT Championship to Dolph
was
Ziggler.
that more to get Jimmy or
Jay,
Jay? Was
yeah,
that more to get Jay where he is now?
yeah,
With the
yeah,
whole,
yeah.
yeah,
It was
that
to
was the
get
whole switcheroony kind of, we
yeah
need
to
you can't be in the bloodline with the title kind of thing.
yeah kind of it was just kind of in the story to get him out, but yeah, I don't want him to take too. I don't want to take too long, but at the same time, I don't want to push him too quickly, and that's the key point. They've got to get right with it. They've got to. I don't know how they'd get it right, but if he's main event, if he goes against Gunther, I say if he starts a build there, I think it's too early for that, but he will be world champion at some point. There is absolutely no doubt. Maybe he wins Money in the Bank next year.
Oh, great shout.
Maybe could be an early
Great
there
shout.
for Money in the Bank.
Imagine him flying around in a Money in the Bank match.
He could easily do it.
Mate,
Yeah.
that would be,
And
yeah,
it's a
no,
bit of
it'd be incredible. It'd be interesting to see if they eventually, because obviously Sheamus never been in the Continental Champion.
no.
Does
I
he
hope he
drop it
gets
to
it.
Sheamus just to have it for? I mean, I don't want it to be a pity title. It's
No.
the work. It's always been a working man's
Yeah.
title, as we've always said. He probably deserves it more than any, the amount of bloody, bangers he's had over the years and what he's put his body through in WWE. And he's now at that stage where he is the perfect elevator for people. He done
Yeah.
it last night. He'll do it again with, and but all meanwhile, he's still relevant. He's
Yeah,
not coming back. Just as much as the John Cena farewell tour is going to be great next year, he's not at that stage yet.
no, he's definitely not. And you can't even go to shout out Ludwig Kaiser as well because he's coming into his
Dude,
own as well.
dude. I mean, we all thought once Gunther went off and done his singles thing, now, he'll be the same as what's the other guy?
Vinci.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's just disappeared. He's
he's in
done a
it.
Vinny Vici and he's gone.
He's in catering. He's in catering. I don't know. Yeah, he's exactly. So yeah, mate, that's like you said at the very start of today's show. We're building. I think
Yeah,
this is such a Paul Levesque thing now. Gone are the days of just, and Vince McMahon could build stories, but the payoff was like bam, bam, bam. It was like 4 week build pay-per-view, 4 week build pay-per-view. Now it's not even 4 weeks between pay-per-views. Again, coming back to us being old, it's now right, here's this 4 week build. Then like we're now thinking, oh, Mania. And he's probably thinking already, he's probably thinking after Mania. It's such a build to get a really good payoff. You get little snippets of payoffs at the minute with the bloodline, like you got last night.
yeah,
And again, like we're going to come on to, there was little Easter eggs in there, and you're like, oh yes, I see what they've done there with the whole. We're going to get into it, Heyman
yeah,
and Punk, etc. But I think that's sprinkling all over WWE now. I really think it is, and it's doing enough to keep you engaged because we're here now going, you know,
yeah.
this is where they're going. There wasn't the standout surprises last night, but there were
No.
enough Easter eggs for me to go, yeah, this is going to be good as we build up to Rumble and Mania, etc.
Yeah, definitely so. We're going to go into Gunther now with Damian Priest. I feel as if this was better than their first match, but it just screamed like a standard Raw main event. You had the Judgment Day getting involved again. I did like Gunther kicking Balor. I don't know whether that's going somewhere with that, because obviously Finn's wanting that world title match anyway. I just felt like I could have watched this on a Monday Night Raw. It would have been a good main event for Raw. Was it pay-per-view quality between the two? No, they kept Priest strong by passing out. You mentioned the shoulder hit the razor's edge. He couldn't get the cover on him for some unknown reason during that. I'm not quite sure where it went there. Obviously, he passed out, so he didn't get pinned, so it's kept him as a solidified babyface. But for me, this match was okay without pulling up any trees.
Yeah, mate. Again, with you. I think this was probably one of the biggest setup matches of the night. It was kind of, are we going to get a three-way next with Gunter, Finn, and Damien, or are we going to get Finn and Damien where the winner gets a shot at Gunter? We're kind of in that little. They're going to do something. It was all right. We all kind of knew that Gunter wasn't going to drop the title, but Cole made a good point during commentary. He's like, Damian Priest will go to the back of the queue. He's never going to get a shot again. So, what do they do there? Is it a three-way at Saturday night's main event, or Netflix? Do they wait till something like Netflix or something like that when that kicks off? There's gonna be a big title change on the Netflix show. I think.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be I don't think it's anything to do with Cody. So if there is a title that's going to go, it's going to be Gunter's, or there's going to be an enormous setup where you're like, wow. So does it involve Priest and Finn? Because I think ideally I think they're going to want Priest and Finn either at the Rumble or Mania,
Yeah.
something like that. Do you, I don't know, in your opinion, do you wait that long though till Mania to see
I
them
have
two?
Brock Lesnar coming back at the Raw and setting
Someone made this
himself
point to me the other day. Yeah, is he kind of because obviously the whole the Vince McMahon thing, and he was kind of we can't
up.
really. I don't want to get you cancelled, mate.
Vince and stuff. Yeah.
Is Brock still involved in that whole situation?
I don't know where they are. I mean, the lawsuit's kind of gone a bit quiet, hasn't it? Maybe since Trump's got in charge again.
Or Linda McMahon's head of education
Head,
in
head,
America.
head of education. Next thing you know, Hulk Hogan will be head of fucking
Imagine
Trump.
that
What's
kids don't
going
hand in their homework. Right, hell in a cell.
on? Or should you bring back the Linda McMahon's Kiss My Ass Club?
There'll be parents all over America going into school, going, "What's going on here?"
What is this? All yeah, I don't know where the whole thing with Brock is now, and it obviously he was implicated in that issue, shall we say, with Vince, but it's all gone quiet, hasn't it? But I just feel like Brock and Gunter needs to happen. I know Undertaker was on his show on his podcast recently saying like I would love to have worked with like Gunter in terms of him at his best would have loved to have worked with Gunther. So for me. I would like Brock to come back and set up something with Gunter maybe for the Rumble or WrestleMania because either one of them. Priest and that I can see Priest and Finn having they need a blow off match because they kind of haven't. They've had one. I think they had one since they
Mhm.
broke up at SummerSlam. And Priest won that. They need another one for me. I don't see either of them taking the belt off Gunter, which I was going to ask you, who does take the belt off of Gunter?
You're going to hate me for saying this.
So I say
Uh,
Cena for me. Cena.
I'm going either Cena or Dominic
And
Mysterio.
that's the set like Dom can do it, yeah.
I'm going
But
Cena. I'm going Cena though, because
yeah,
one more. They I think me and you mentioned this
yeah,
probably over a year ago. Flair's record, they want it gone.
yes,
For whatever reason, and I mean Triple H is Flair's, he's one of his heroes, but
yeah.
they want Cena to go out, win the title at Rumble, do the over at Mania.
Who does he face Randy? I mean, well, what? Because he's got to face Randy Orton one more time.
I think eventually that title ends up on Kevin Owens or Randy Orton.
Wow, Kevin Owens. Yeah, that's an interesting one. His contract's coming up. He hasn't signed yet.
I think he'll sign. There's no way he's going. Well, I don't know. You wouldn't like to say. I I think what AEW doing now, I don't think many people are going to want to go there. In
It's,
my opinion,
it's an interesting one, isn't it?
for career wise, I'm not talking character. I'm not. I think career wise now, I very rarely look at the product. I listen to the shows that you put out when I'm driving in my car. 'Cause I've got the Hit and the Turnbuckle one on my loop thing there, and an AEW one come on, and I'm like, I listen to it. Sometimes I'm like, I haven't got a clue what he's talking about, so I don't watch it. But I hear like what you guys talk about with the relevant guests you have on. I just get the impression AEW isn't what it was 2 years ago. I mean, is the Hurt Business have just gone there.
Yes, yeah.
I saw 20 minutes of a promo they done. And I was like, AEW have just ruined these guys already, in my opinion. So is Kevin Owens going to go, I'm going to go to AEW? You probably want to go to TNA if you're going to go anywhere.
Yeah,
With the link that they have with WWE, he could quote unquote not sign his contract and do some stuff in TNA. That's the big switch over. I know it's segueing a little bit here. That's the switch over I'm waiting to happen in 2025. We see a lot of
yeah.
TNA stars coming to WWE. I would love to turn on a TNA show, Impact, and be like Kevin Owens just turns up
Yeah.
because it's always the other way around in a minute. You
Yeah,
see
yeah.
everyone comes to NXT. Some people might turn up on a pay per view, but I would imagine that the shot across the barrel to wrestling and Kevin Owens is just on Impact.
Funny enough, you should say that. Obviously, Jordan Grace is a likely first one. Josh
Hmm.
Alexander's he cut his dates, his Independence days. But you mentioned that, and I just wanted to get this in because I know you're going to love this. Uh, Appeared on TNA's Turning Point special they done the weekend. Matt Riddle. I'm so
All
glad.
right, that's it. I'll see you in another year.
Yeah, but Riddle. I mean, he was doing MLW. They had an issue with one of the rascals couldn't make it to the show. So they were doing like WrestleCade, I think, nearby, and he was there. It was just one of those things that happened.
You'll know more than me then, ads. What's the position with TNA and WWE? Do obviously because the whole Matt Riddle thing.
Hmm.
Do WWE own anything to do with TNA, hence these crossovers, or is it purely a handshake, a business deal? Because I can't see WWE going, oh, well, what, you're bringing Riddle in? Yeah, that's okay. I know everyone gets second chances in life. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, the wrestlers that have come back over the years. You'll know more than me. You watch TNA. Is there like a contractual thing? Do WWE have any rights to TNA? Do they have any say in like creative? And because of the crossover thing,
I think they do in terms of their talent that they bring over. They do. I don't know anything about. There's been nothing coming out that WWE own any. I know they've got. I think they've got the video library. Because I think sometimes when AJ
right?
Styles has done it, you've seen some of his old TNAs. I think they're that kind of. They're allowed to do that,
Is it
and
more an image kind of rights
yeah, like
thing?
an image
Hmm.
right kind of thing. I mean, JBL's rocked up on loads of. I mean, he's
I
been
saw that.
everywhere. To be honest,
He's been everywhere recently.
he
Yeah,
was. Yeah,
surprised you didn't have him down in Bournemouth last week.
tell you what.
Imagine
Tell
that
you
hitting the turnbuckle championship.
well, we haven't got at the moment. Our champion's done a
I
bump.
saw, mate. You done a bunk. I
So I don't
listened to
know
your
what
I listened to your review, mate. It's up in the air at the minute. It's up
that's
in the
up in
air.
the air. Yeah, at the minute. Yeah, JBL's been everywhere. I mean, he's GCW. He's been at MLW.
Hmm.
He's been on the last few TNAs. I don't think there's any ownership of it. More like a hack. More like a. We'll send you. WWE are sending a lot of their sort of younger NXT talent, I suppose, to get a bit more exposure. But I'm with you. I would like to see someone like an AJ Styles rock up, or in 2020, someone with a big name value,
Yeah,
especially.
because the names they've got there are good.
Yeah,
At the minute, you're kind of like, oh, it's good. You're seeing a quote unquote Dolph Ziggler, and you're seeing
yeah,
the Hardys are the tag team
yeah,
champions. I still watch a fair bit of TNA, but you're kind of like, I'm like, oh, if you tell me that KO's just showed up, or
yeah.
then everyone's watching the next Impact Rest, the show that they do there. It's just gonna. I just like, yeah, I just want to. I was just interested to see. I know we segued a little bit there, but I was just interested to know what the deal is with WWE and TNA because if Matt Riddle's back in Impact.
I think Matt Riddle was just a one shot because I say it was so. I think it was Trey Miguel had a transport, so he couldn't get there. They just happened to be doing it at the same place where WrestleCade, like a WrestleCade's just kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Shelton Benjamin took on a Speedball Bailey at WrestleCade, by the way. It was like a convention type show,
That'd be a good match.
and Riddle was there. Obviously, Riddle signed of MLW, and I think it was just a case of shit. We need someone
Get him
quick.
in.
Can we
Yeah.
bring him in?
Fair play.
And then all of that stuff. But yeah, that's where it happened. But yeah, let's get into the men's war games: Bloodline versus Bloodline and Punk. In this case, it was a hell of a match. I think the right team won with the original, with the OG Bloodline. I think Roman Pillion solo was definitely needed. Now there comes the thing with Punk. Obviously, we had Roman trying to dictate things. There was a time when Jimmy was going to come in. He pushed him out the
Yeah,
way. He
stopped,
said,
didn't he?
"Sammy, come in." Then Punk done it to him later on, and Roman was going to come out. Punk barged him out the way, and he come in. There was a few spots, and I think Bronson Reed's got an injury from the tsunami through the.
Okay, not surprised.
Yeah, Jacob Fatu actually improved, which was great. I read it because he'd done a move, and they thought he was injured because he couldn't put any weight on his leg. But what he done was he'd hit the move and then improved and think, shit, I've got to try and what's the best way for me to sell it? I'll sell it like I'm injured. So
Mm-hmm.
it was improv. So that was great. I mean, Jacob Fatu's a star anyway.
Agreed.
Jimmy Uso broke his foot during
Of course.
this. So there was a lot of injuries coming out. Heck of a match. But the interesting thing is, what is Punk's favor that he's going to ask Paul Heyman for later on?
I've got this. When this happens, replay this, all right? WrestleMania,
All right.
Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk.
You reckon that's what it is?
It's going to come down to Heyman somehow being megally involved in that main event with who wins.
Mm.
It's Cody's going to be out the frame. It's going to be Punk. It's going to be Roman. Something's going to happen where Heyman has to choose. Does he slide the belt in? Does he double cross someone? So I reckon that's where they. But this is just me, kind of in my own head, thinking I know what I'm talking about when it comes to wrestling. I think that's where they're going to go, and I think that's going to be hence the hug at the end with
Yeah,
Punk and Heyman
yeah.
going, "That was for you.
When I
When I
want
need a
one.
favor,
Yeah,
I'm going to ask."
yeah.
You know, I reckon. I don't think you're going to get Roman one on one with Punk anytime soon because I think
Yeah,
now they're going to do a little bit maybe with the Bloodline still.
yeah,
You've kind of got two storylines going on in one.
yeah. Got the bloodline
Now
in there.
they've kind of now set up right. Roman's kind of back involved in the Bloodline storyline, but we're now in the Rumble WrestleMania season where we want to get him back to
Cody.
Cody. I think Punk has only come back to WWE to be a world champion. I think it goes three-way at Mania, and I think Heyman chooses Punk because of the whole thing we saw last night.
Or does Punk go for Gunter and Heyman has a way of helping him either get the win over Gunther to get the title, and then he goes into a feud with John Cena for the title at WrestleMania?
It's good thinking, mate. That is good. I
I don't
just
know.
think, why would you get Roman in? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It could be a slingshot. They could have just done this to get where you just said.
yeah,
Why is Roman? So I just think that everything they teased with Roman and Punk
yeah. It's
over
going to happen at some
on
point, isn't it?
SmackDown, it's going to happen. Does it happen at the Rumble where a winner gets, I don't know, a title, not a title shot, because obviously the winner of the Rumble gets that. But obviously, you've got Elimination Chamber squeezed in between it
Yeah,
on the 14th of February. Is something happen where there, or does Heyman have to choose at the Chamber? Does something happen there to set up a main event at WrestleMania? Punk calls the favor in, and he's like, "Well, if I do this for you, then Roman's not in the main event."
yeah,
Is it something? I don't know how it's gonna. It's gonna have to be either cost him a match. It's gonna have to be a stipulation of a match. It's gonna have to be something. Do they have a one-on-one? And Punk's like, "You're in my corner. I'm calling in a favor."
yeah,
Then does then the doors are really open because then he could be in his corner and double cross him and the storyline. Then you're kind of like, wow. Then they have shifted it from the Bloodline storyline without even us noticing Because
Yeah.
then you're like, oh, Heyman's cross Roman Reigns, blah blah blah. This again, this is come back to what you said at the start of the show, mate. The long term storytelling and not hitting it the here and now. Like a lot of people, like I said, I flipped through Twitter quickly, and everyone's like, well, it's really not much happened. No, not everything's gonna happen in one show now, especially
No.
this time of year. You might get it at SummerSlam. You need something big
Yeah.
because you're setting up the end of the year. Now you're setting up next year. You're setting up 20. You're setting up so many. You're setting up Netflix. You're setting up the Rumble. You're setting up Elimination Chamber. Triple H is already thinking main event Mania. Then you're hitting Operation Reset and you're going again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really. I think that they'll long it out to Mania, but I think it'll be really. They're gonna Easter egg after Easter egg will be thrown in. Really will, and you're gonna see Heyman more and more involved. But then to throw back in the mix, what you said, Lesnar and Heyman.
Yeah. Potentially.
Who
Potentially.
who knows?
It's got a lot
But it's
of.
a great match. I loved it. I thought it,
Yeah.
it ended the right way. They had to win. Everyone hit they hit all the spots. Was I surprised The Rock didn't turn up? Not really, because I still think that's going to be the Netflix thing.
Yeah. They'll
And I
be.
don't know if you've heard any different from what I'm hearing. He's not involved in Mania this year.
I've,
In
I've,
in ring.
yeah, I've heard two separate things. One that said he wasn't, and one that said that he is. It's I don't know. If he is going to be there, it's going to have to be with Cody and or Roman, though, isn't it? It's going to have to be that if he's back. I don't
Or
know.
what does Cena do at Mania? Is that involved
Wins
in
the
that?
world title. That's what I
You
think. It
reckon?
is.
Yeah.
Or he's going against Punk again. The favors because obviously Punk's on quote unquote Raw at the minute, isn't he? So it's kind of one or the other. So I don't know.
Hmm.
But it's the best thing about it, isn't it? We're guessing. We're not. We
Oh,
don't.
there's so many things tomorrow night on Raw. Me and you'll text each other and go, "Oh, we fucking got that wrong." You know what I mean? Something will happen where me and you got it completely wrong, or we'll get round to Saturday night's main event. We'll set a tiny little thing up. I think Cody and KO is just a little. It's kind of a not even a segue. It's kind of a it'll be good, but they need to get them two to somewhere. That's just. I think they're treading water at the minute, kind of waiting for it all to kick off. Rumble, Mania, Elimination Chamber, etc., etc., etc. I haven't. That's one thing that I obviously haven't spoke to you about a lot of wrestling recently on here. I, I'm getting bored. Is it word to say I'm getting kind of bored with what they're doing with Cody?
Yeah.
I think he needs Roman more than the other way around.
Yeah. Probably does.
And have WWE gone, oh, we might want to get the title back on Roman or Punk.
Yeah. We still got the potential Cody and Randy as well. That's got to happen at some point.
Yeah, he's got to come. Randy's, obviously got to come. But I think they're going to go down the whole Randy and KO thing for, I'm going to guess, Rumble.
Yeah. I mean, Randy will come back
You're
eventually.
not longing that out till Mania. No way.
He might cost Kevin Owens the match at Saturday Night's main event.
Yeah, could do. That'll be upset in a couple. That's at December the 14th.
December the 14th. Yeah,
So
that's
2 weeks.
probably the last net. That's probably the last network special.
Yeah, we got NXT next Saturday.
Is it next Saturday? Oh, okay, I forgot.
Yeah, and then the following week we've got Saturday night's main event.
So then that brings the curtain down on the
Yeah, I
WWE.
don't think they. Yeah, then obviously you've got a week till you'll have
And then
one Raw,
the
one SmackDown.
Royal Rumble's in February. February the 1st.
Again, yeah, remember me and you talking about the build to Mania? Are they going? They've got to have something surely through the middle of January
They
to.
will do something, I'm
It's
sure.
probably they'll go to Saudi Arabia
They'll do something.
because what I did read yesterday, and fair play to him for doing this because they need to time off. Raw is going to be recorded 3 weeks running
Yeah, taping it
because
up. So
because
yeah,
of Christmas.
yeah,
That's the only man. The amount of time, obviously, with the recent tapings with the whole European travel thing, amount of time just scrolling through Twitter and you're like, oh, there's the end of Raw. There's the
yeah.
end of Raw. There's that on Raw, and you're like, man, that's the only thing. Me and you've said this many times. So I miss about the good old days of not knowing
No
with
internet.
the internet, no internet. You know what I mean? That's the only. I mean, everyone's like, stay off your phone. They fucking stay off their phone all day now. So many things that you do on your mobile phone and social media. But yes, there's big builds coming. It's how they do it. How do they get there? I mean, WWE now, I reckon, is as big as it's ever been. And in about 5 weeks, 6 weeks time, when it hits Netflix, it's gonna be. I know off the top of my head, probably 8 or 9 people that I've spoke to. I've never had TNT Sport. They've never had Sky Sports, and they're like, "I'm getting back into wrestling." I'm like, "Yeah, cool. Good." And I think that's a big thing behind it. I don't know what you think. I think that's a big thing behind the Netflix deal.
I think it helps. I certainly, because again, not a lot of people want to pay out extra money when you've got a subscription like Sky or you've got a Virgin Media, and then it's oh yeah, you can watch that, but you have to pay another 25 quid or another £10, and then you've got your Amazon subscription, you got yeah, everything else, on top of that, Disney Plus or whatever, and
Mm.
Apple TV and stuff, and it all becomes ridiculous when you look at it, and that's why a lot of the illegal streaming shit happens as well because
But they were talking about in TalkSport the other day, people
yeah,
were ringing up left, right, and centre going, I either pay £120 for Sky Sports subscription or I pay £40 a year and get a Fire Stick.
yeah,
And it's all right, they're coming out, oh, the government are trying to stop it. Over half the country's got a Fire Stick, I reckon.
yeah,
And watch wrestling, Premier League football, everything, you name it, movies. Because it is the way society is now, where everything is so goddamn expensive. Geez, obviously remember me and you watching Raw and SmackDown, then at the end of the month, pay £20 to watch WrestleMania on
yeah,
pay-per-view.
yeah,
Imagine saying to people now, by the way, you can watch everything in the month, but at the end of the month, give us 20 quid to watch WrestleMania.
yeah.
You get that with what is it, 12 quid for Netflix, whatever it is a month now?
12, £13, yeah.
12, £13, you're getting Raw, SmackDown, NXT, every pay. All right, I know you're admittedly not getting all the back catalogue that you've got on WWE Network, but you're going to get all the documentaries. For us in the UK, we're going to get a lot more. We're going to get some of the stuff that's on Peacock, it's going to be on Netflix,
Yeah,
etc., etc. I think it's such a great thing for W. It's opened them up. If I didn't think it was possible, it's opened up to an even bigger audience, and it's opened them up to returning fans that want to watch the product.
yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I certainly for Netflix anyway, but yeah, in terms of spending money, well, hopefully this will help. And there's
Good for me
anything,
because I get to do more Raw reviews of you because I
yes,
can just download it the next day, watch it, and on a Tuesday or Wednesday night I can come on and go right.
let's
Let's
do
talk
it.
some wrestling. Let's talk some
That's it.
wrestling.
That'll be great. And as I say, you can use the money that you've gained from your Raw W
It's
subscription,
always
and
working
invest
this one.
very wisely in a TNA
How
Plus.
much are they paying you? Is it
They send me roster, mate. I'm theirs. I'm their bitch now.
sitting there with his new TNA t-shirt on next week?
I'm getting one of those. Yeah,
Fair play, fully
I'm getting
deserved,
a
my
TNA
friend,
roster.
fully deserved.
Before we start closing up, I'll start reading off what we've got going on. But obviously, you do other podcasts. So when are you next recording the others? Where can they see you? What's
So yeah, any football fan, non-league, any fans of non-league, at DTFC Pod on Twitter is where I do everything Dunstable Town. I've got some really big things coming up with them. I can't mention just yet because I don't want to kibosh it more for myself. I'll tell you when we're not recording, but
yeah,
some huge things coming up there. You'll appreciate being a non-league fan. The NFL stuff I'm still doing over at Commander Bunker on Twitter. We're talking all things NFL, all things Washington Commanders, former Washington Redskins. So loving doing that. But yeah, like I just said, the good thing about the Netflix deal, like me and you spoke about last week, I can do more of this now.
yeah,
I can do Raw, I can do SmackDown, I can do pay-per-views and just chime in and sit down and talk wrestling with one of your best mates. And again, I said this last time I was on, mate, just keep doing what you're doing with this show. I listen a lot in my car now when I'm traveling around doing various things. The guests you're on, amazing. I think what you're doing for TNA is great as well. Really elevating that. I watch a lot more TNA now because you might talk about something and I'm like, shit, I haven't watched that. I want to see what he's on about. So yeah, that's where you can find me back. But you'll definitely see me back a lot more on hitting the turnbuckle in 2025.
good, good, because we need these tag team partners. That's for sure.
That's it, mate.
To do some stuff.
We need to get
Comment.
Dave back on. All three of us. We need to
Hey,
do one.
when he stopped fitting
When
boilers.
he's bloody, he's a bit of a bunny boiler, bless him. But that could maybe be his new nickname. I bid you a bunny boiler. I do.
Yes.
But yeah, it'd be great for all of us just to sit down and talk some wrestling. I know he's a really busy man. I see
Yeah.
him obviously follow him on Facebook and stuff.
He is. Just quickly come up on the show this week. So we're recording this week. When this goes out is my decision. But this week we're recording with former AEW star Fuego del Sol this coming week, as well as someone that's requested some time on the channel. So those of you that follow Ignite will know Taylor James turned on Jack Torino, his former Rebellion teammate. Jack has been MIA pretty much since Buckle Up 2. So he's requested some time. He did come out and do an apology and all this sort of stuff recently, but he wants some time. So I said, well, I know just the place. If you want to come and have a chat, you can come and have a chat with us. Following that, weeks leading up to Christmas, Zach Knight's coming back on. Ring of Honor AEW star
Love that.
Zach Knight will be rejoining us. Now, for those ECW fans, I'm not letting you guys down either. So we have the Queen of Extreme, Francine, coming on, as well as someone who will know Paul Heyman very well because he used to run ECW with Paul Heyman, and that man is Todd is God, Todd Gordon. will be joining us very, very soon. Also, lead up to Christmas is going to be busy, and also hitting the turnbuckle, hit the road again for 3 more shows this side of January. We will be at RCWA on the 14th of December to see our good friend Taylor James. He will be there, as will Connor Mills and a couple of others. On the 17th, thanks to our friends at the Ministry of Wrestling, we'll be attending Riot Cabaret for the very first time. We will look forward to that. And then just after Christmas, on the 27th, us will be hitting the road one more time as we go to Prodigy Pro. We'll make our first pit stop at Prodigy Pro Wrestling over in Hockley, not far away. So if you haven't already subscribed to us, make sure you do. HTT Buckle on X, HTT Buckle on YouTube. Now, don't forget that address has changed. HTT Buckle on YouTube. Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast on Instagram. And Andy, we will have you back on whenever you can to join.
Yes, mate. Count me in for the Raw review of Netflix. I'm a little bit of a busy schedule. I'm like you just mentioned there, coming up to Christmas,
Yeah.
but I pretty much should be all good for the Raw and SmackDown stuff. Now I can literally hit download the day after, and on when I'm out on the right. My I don't want to say too much because I don't know who listens to this, but my career is definitely going to be changing. I don't want to say because I know people in my workmates will listen to it. In January, my career is going to be changing, but it's definitely going to mean I'm going to have more time to do this review, mate.
Great. And just remind everybody of your Dunstable pod and your Commanders pod.
At DTFC Pod on X or Twitter, if you're old like me, at Commander Bunker is where you can find all the NFL stuff.
And of course, we're on Blue Sky now as well, the new Twitter, Blue Sky. I know. We're on that as well. So I just put HTTB in, you'll find us. And then Adam from HTTB, you'll find me on there. Too many, I know, it's got so much to do. But Andy, it's been great to chat some wrestling with you again. My friend, we'll do this again with you, obviously, when Raw debuts on Netflix in a couple of weeks' time. But we'll be back next week with all the usual stuff, everyone. So until then, everybody, Andy, I want you to sign off with the signature because you haven't done it in a while.
Till next time, everybody. Buckle down. Stay safe.